When Mrs. Alpana Ahuja learned that her husband was posted to Singapore for work in 2000, she eagerly looked forward to uprooting her family to the island city.
I had been to Singapore before we moved, so I was familiar with what the country is like, and I was quite excited about the move actually.
Growing up with a father who was regularly posted to different parts of India for his job with a railway company, relocating was nothing new to her.
It is a fairly easy country to settle in, I would say, because it's a very comfortable five-star city. It was a little lonely in the beginning because we don't have families here, but I think the girls settled down pretty well in the local schools. I took longer. I started off by joining the support group in my younger daughter's school. So through the PSG, I came to know a lot of local people, and I started understanding the culture.
One interesting observation Mrs. Ahuja had was that Singaporeans are a well-behaved lot.
When you come in first to Singapore, the MRT is like deathly quiet compared to India. India is like chaotic, talkative, loud, action, everything, drama everywhere.
When asked if she has ever encountered any discrimination, Mrs. Ahuja flatly denied it.
I'm not a working person, so I don't know about the industry, what the attitude is towards other foreigners.
The fair-skinned North Indian native, however, said that she has heard of discrimination faced by dark-skinned Indians. She understands that Singaporeans are largely concerned about foreigners taking over their jobs. To address this, she feels that it is important for salaries to be competitive and realistic for Singaporeans to live on. Among the things that Mrs. Ahuja loves about the Lion City is unsurprisingly its celebrated local cuisine.
I really enjoyed discovering the food. I was exposed to so many different kinds of Asian cuisine, which I had never really experienced in India.
Besides the rich local flavors, she also greatly appreciates the safe environment in Singapore.
There is no other country in the world I will allow my daughters to go out and come late at night.
Still, there are some things in Singapore that Mrs. Ahuja feels can be improved. A self-professed passionate animal crusader who volunteers at shelters and helps with dog adoption, she hopes that more can be done about animal welfare, especially with regard to the rigid pet regulations.
If there are people willing to take the animal in and care for him, then you should allow that person, right?
Mrs. Ahuja is also passionate about the environment.
Once a month, I carry big bags with me, and while I'm walking my dog, I collect all non biodegradables from the beach.
While she notes that there has been progress, she hopes for greater awareness and participation in recycling and sustainability efforts. Having worked with like-minded individuals and groups, Mrs. Ahuja is deeply inspired by the active social movements in this little red dot.
I'm amazed at how dedicated these groups are. I don't do half as much as they do.
These are her passions that she pursues when she is not kept busy creating or teaching art. In fact, she has just completed a series of watercolor animal paintings for a 2014 calendar by Wildlife SOS, an NGO in India. Mrs. Ahuja is also a published illustrator of the Sasha book series by Sunbear Publishing. It has been 13 years since she decided to make Singapore home, and Mrs. Ahuja considers herself very much Singaporean and finds it hard to leave.
After you get used to the way things work in Singapore, it's very difficult to go and live in here.
But she was quick to add that she has not given up her Indian passport. To her, it is an emotional decision that she has to think deeply about, and right now, she is not ready to take that step.